on that mostly, so and my ears were on that, so I was just following with the odd update on this one from the Twitter feed. But wow, was I not expecting to see what I saw as Wakefield came out 38 points to 12 winners over recently in form Huddersfield Giants. It was 30-0 at half-time. That was where the game was won by Trin in the first half. Robert Hicks was the man with the whistle. In terms of the stats, Wakey made 253 more metres at 1 metre per carry better average gain, with twice as many breaks as the Giants, 6-3. They overcame making more errors, conceding more penalties, and having a man in the bin to take this big, sizable victory. Individually, Bill Tupu with a try and 170 metres. Mason Lino with a try, 152 metres. Lee Kershaw, 138 metres. And Tina Albright Isarona, 132 metres. For the losing Giants, Jerry McGilvray plugged away for 126 metres. Ricky Latelli, 118 metres. James Gavey was back in the side with a try and 112 metres, and Jake Wardle a try, 5 tackle bust and 105 metres. Couple of bits out of the disciplinary here. Wakefield will be disappointed to have lost Matt Ashurst for a grade C dangerous throw. That's 2 match penalty notice for him. And James Gavey of Huddersfield, grade B, raising the knees in tackle, 1 match penalty notice.
Carsten sent a view in. Trusting the process must hurt when you try to sit. I think that will save Wakey from relegation, as I don't see Lee winning a game, but Watson still has loads of work in front of him.
And Wakey White said, another dominant performance from Trinity, a well-deserved result on the back of a great performance, 1-17. Starting with a bit of poor discipline, but managed to turn that aggression into real bullying display. Westerman needs to stay. He's been unreal, and today everything he touched turned to gold. A great win at what is the best ground for Super League on a sunny day. It's because no one's covered, and it's got the holiday flats.
I was listening to both games, this and the Hull KR game, in parallel and switching between the two. I actually listened to a little bit more of the first half of this game than I did the Hull KR game, and I have to concur with Wakey White that Westerman was at the centre of everything in the game. And I think the crux of this game, Wakey were up, then had a man sin-binned.
Yeah, it was Jacob Miller, the captain, who went in the bin, wasn't it?
Yeah, Miller got sin-binned. And Huddersfield then had a long period of attack on the Wakefield line. And Wakefield's line defence was superb, held them out, and then they went and scored while they were still down to 12 men. And I think that for me was the tipping point for the game. And there was Huddersfield didn't find a way back into it after that. But Westerman is playing very, very well at the moment. He's a very, very talented player, Westerman.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to have seen him play at the top level for longer. Not saying that Wakefield aren't top level, but if you know what I mean, I saw him as a proper international early on his career, and I thought he was going to go on and be, a Great Britain player. But
I'll always go back to that, to me, mind-blowing decision to step down to play for the Toronto Wolfpack. That derailed when he was at Warrington. To me, that derailed his career, stopped any chances of him going on to that next stage, which was the international stage, and it made me question his desire to get to that level as well. But he's a top performer in a lower level side, that's for sure, and I do suspect that he's going to be back at Cast, because that's what all the rumours and noise has been. Back where he started his career, probably to finish it, but Wakefield will want to keep hold of him. Mason Lino as well seems to have impressed for them in this game. He had a decent kicking record and scored that try, a long range effort for himself that he scored. But good stuff. But the try of the game was Bill Tupu's try just before half time. I mean, watch this on the highlights. It had just about everything in it, from looking like the play was completely bottled up and going backwards at the start when Big Pink Panther had it, to him breaking free, finding an offload, some good hands and an offload from Max Jowett. Reece Lynn came into the middle of the field and did a really good run. Just about stopped but not held, so was able to get the ball out to Max Jowett, who then attacked the line but put a little kick in, and Bill Tupou showed so much more like desire and strength than the tracking back Huddersfield defenders for him to get the ball, claim it and put it down, and that was just on the stroke of half time, so that led to that 30 points.
30-0, wasn't it?
That was there was no way insurmountable. There was no way they were coming back then, Huddersfield, in what must have been a really shocking first half for them. They actually won the second half, so that might give them some pleasure, but
not by much.
Yeah,
not by much. I mean, Huddersfield must be incredibly disappointed by how badly the first half went for them. They must be really disappointed because it felt, as I think you and Sarah were saying on the show last week, like Huddersfield was starting to show the form we all thought, or many of us thought, they were going to have this year, that they'd be contenders, proper contenders for the top four. And then, this is a huge step back for them.
And it seems like desire in defence was a big swing factor in this game. So you've got to say well done to Wakefield for showing that, because
Indeed. Good for Wakey.
In terms of the standings, St Helens had a group of 3 at the top on 87.5%, with Catalans and Wigan up there with them. Warrington stay 4th on 68.75. Hull FC are on 56.25, just ahead of Cross City rivals Hull KR on 50% to round out the top 6. Who'd have thought a quarter of the way into the season, or wherever we are we a quarter? Are we a third?
A quarter.
Who'd have thought that Hull KR would be in the top 6 in the playoff places? Castleford also have 50%, Leeds in 8th and Huddersfield in 9th, both have 37.5%. Wakefield progressed to 25%, with Salford on 12.5% and Leigh still bottom with a 0% win rate. I mean, Wakefield have won 2 games now. I would say if they beat Leigh next week, that's Wakefield safe. Leigh aren't going to win 4 games.
Nope. No, I think the way things are going at the moment, Leigh will be lucky to win 2 games.
Yeah.
They just look so far off the pace. But
I agree. Stat line of the week: Toby King, 2 tries, 1 try assist, 8 tackle busts, 221 metres, 2 clean breaks, 5 successful offloads. It was the first stat line we read out, and it was always going to be the winner. Player of the week, do you know, if it wasn't for his overly excessive aggression in standing up for his brother, I think Joel Tompkins would have been winning a shout for Player of the Week for me, and Artur Morg from the Catalans side comes close too, but maybe because of how shot and shoddy Wigan were by the time he came on, he tore up an easy beat. So I'm going to instead go for a player who was the architect of a bigger shock than the Wigan result at Catalans, I think, and that was Wakefield's win. So I'm going to go for Mason Lino as my Player of the Week.
Very good. I'm going to be quite parochial and go for Johnny Lomax, who really orchestrated Saints' win against Hull.
Highlight of the week, I'm going to defer, instead of having one myself, read out one that we got sent in from Neil Ormston, who said, highlight of the week has to be Toby King's Stat Attack interview. In recognition for his service to Rugby League statistics, he's been granted honorary membership of the Rugby League Record Keepers Club. However, it obviously needed fact-checking. Of course it did, Neil. I adore you. This is amazing. And by my reckoning, he will have played in 9.1% of Wire's seasons by the end of his new contract, not 9.3%.
You should never argue with Neil.
I'm loving it. Everyone who followed this show for the last however many years we've been doing it, 8 years or so, will know that stats were a big part in what we've always talked about on this show, because we think they tell a bit of the story as well as what you see with your eyes. You see there's some things the stats tell, and then there's some stats that just don't really tell us much, but in a way tell us so much. And Neil's attention to these is fantastic. I'm absolutely in love with it. 9.1%, not 9.3. Fantastic.
Indeed. My own highlight was Arthur Morg's stop-go try second half, which was a thing of beauty, I thought. The way he read the situation quickly, drifted to his left, stopped, and then shot to the line. It was a proper half-back's try.
Yep. Right, predictions, Superoo, and we're going to talk about the fantasy leagues just so I can fucking have a go at it again. But it was 3 out of 6 for me and Sarah last week. Not a great performance. I'm sure there wasn't too many great performances. In terms of the Superoo, Alan is top, yellow cap wearing David is second, spoon holding Sarah is third, Tim is fourth, and I am last. In the main Superoo, Craig the expat Cats fan stays top. Kyle Dyson still wearing the yellow cap. I think that's because they haven't finalised the yellow cap, because on Superoo they've thrown the Wakefield League game into this week's fixtures somehow for some reason. But we'll see. And the Fantasy League still looks like the scoring's wrong, because this week Bill Tupu only got like 10 points even though he got 170 metres as well as a try, and a try is worth 10 points. So it might be getting to the point where we write off the Fantasy League for this year unless they're going to do a whole-scale revision of all of the stats from every week so far. Maybe putting in the extra complication of picking a captain has fucked up the scoring system somewhat, because it's made a right mess. Someone's heads need to roll.
Head needs to roll.
Anyway, that's the game. That's the Super League recap. Thanks to everyone for their fan views. Make sure you get in your fan views on the Google form for next week's games, which will be a right mixed bag of fixtures. But before we make our guesses for those, let's cover the other results from around the world of Rugby League. We're going to start over results with the Women's Super League. As we are the Super League pod, we think that is the way we should go from now on. So it was Warrington 28, Bradford 40 in the Twitch game, and we had a fan review of this.
Dr. Hideous says the first half was all Bradford, up 6:30 at the break. Warrington fought back in the second half and got to 24-34 with 18 to go, but couldn't get closer. I counted 2 shockingly high tackles, both Bradford's Stacey Greenwood, and 2 very poor fends off by Warrington players with forearm or elbow to the throat or face that ought to lead to warnings from the disciplinary panel, if not bans.
Well, yeah, we don't... I'm assuming their games are captured in the Thursday session that looks at the League One and Championship, but actually, yes, this is technically amateur still. Where is it captured, the disciplinary stuff? I've never noticed that, so we'll keep an eye out. It was Wakefield 10, Featherstone 52. Huddersfield 10, Wigan 58. Georgia Wilson getting 4 tries in that one. Some real great efforts from her, showing her speed, actually. Worth checking out. And in the rematch of the Revenge semi-final, it was York 18, Castleford 20, and Fatboy Rob said, "Fuck York,
twats." York, twats. Yeah. Doesn't hold a grudge.
No. What does that mean for the standings, though, David?
It means that Saints, Cass, Wigan and Leeds make up the top 4, all maintaining 100% starts to the season. York and Huddersfield both have 1 from 3. Featherstone and Bradford have 1 from 4, and Warrington and Wakefield are yet to get off the mark.
Round 8 of the Championship. We start with Batley 26, Swinton 12. Swinton were leading early in that game, so it's a shame for them that they couldn't see that through. London 30, Dewsbury 10. We had a fan view from the capital.
Dr. Hideous says the Broncos opened both halves with knock-ons inside their 10, and both times Dewsbury kindly coughed up a penalty immediately. Very sporting of them. The scoreline flatters the Broncos' defence. There were some impressive last-ditch try-saving tackles, but if players had been in position correctly, they wouldn't have been needed and Dewsbury would have been stopped 10 metres earlier. Meadows deserved his Man of the Match award.
Was Oldham 18, Widnes 40. Sheffield love a draw this year. It was 25 all between them and Whitehaven. Bradford on the narrow